So I was not planning on double uploading today, but last night I saw Spider-Man Brand New Day. Did I see it by legal means? No. That doesn't matter though. The point is I saw it and I was too tired to make a video right afterwards, but dude, this movie, wow. I was not expecting this movie to be so fucking good. I heard the reviews and I saw that the reviews were really good and people were glazing the hell out of this. But man, I was not quite expecting what I saw last night. I was never the biggest fan of Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I didn't hate him. I never actually did. I was always quite apathetic towards him. No Way Home made me like him quite a bit. But dude, this movie has skyrocketed him into like, yo, fuck Andrew Garfield. No, actually, no, I like Andrew Garfield, but legitimately, Tom Holland's Spider-Man in this movie, he just feels like Spider-Man in a way that it's just so hard to put into words, especially when you compare him to other Spider-Men. He almost feels like straight out of a comic book. That being said, the movie was not perfect. It really was not. There were some issues with it, but I'll get to those later when I get into the spoilers. I want to say the Punisher was kind of a weird character to, I guess, criticize from my side. I saw a few people hating on him because for the past few years, and I guess months, there has been this narrative that people do not like not Frank Castle, fuck, I'm stupid, John Bernthal's Punisher because he doesn't feel like the comics version of the Punisher. The main points I see all the time being that, oh, comics Punisher is way more insane, he should be more of a psychopath, he should not be joking around or being more friendly, and I get that, believe me, I do. And if you are a huge fan of Frank Castle in the comics and to you that is the best version of the character, that's perfectly fine. But what confuses me is people pretending like the MCU has not been doing this for the longest time. There is very few characters in the MCU that are exact carbon copies of how they were in the comics. Very few of them. I mean, look at Iron Man. Look at Iron Man. At least when it comes to the movies, his alcoholism and a lot of his flaws were never touched upon, and they were moved aside pretty quickly, especially in the first movie, in favor of him being an actual hero. So I don't know why people are so surprised when the MCU takes characters and switches them in a way. If you don't like the direction that the Punisher has been taken in his show and in these past few movies, and in Daredevil especially, that's perfectly fine, again, but I feel like the Punisher in this movie works. He works in a way I feel like he didn't in the past few properties we've seen him in. I don't know why. It almost feels like the movie is affecting him in a way. I don't know if you get me. What I'm trying to say is I would never want the Punisher to be like how he was in this movie in any other property where he is the main character or something like Daredevil. But for him to be like this in this Spider-Man movie specifically, it's just so perfect. They have this kind of buddy cop kind of dynamic, but also kind of a familiar relationship, especially when it comes to near the end of the movie and you see Frank being a lot more open and a lot more vulnerable towards Peter. It's so cool to see this dynamic that, I don't know, it's probably something in the comics or maybe somewhere this has been explored, but I personally have never seen it, and I did enjoy it. A lot of the comedy in this movie, that is another thing, the comedy in this movie was actually pretty good for the most part. Off the top of my head, I cannot remember a single, the usual, he's right behind me, isn't he, type of Marvel jokes, which is such a fucking breath of fresh air, dude. The action too, oh my god, man, the hand fights, the guard fights, every fight in this movie, dude, the Hulk fight, which is not a spoiler, I mean, come on, you watch the trailers, dude, everything was so fucking cool. The action in this movie was amazing, dude. And speaking of the Hulk, I want to get into this little discourse around the Hulk specifically. I guess I'm gonna get into spoilers now. It's been 4 minutes. Like, if you haven't watched the movie, I'm sorry, dude, go watch it, it's really good, and then come back, please. But I've seen a few of the discourse around the Hulk being extremely negative, saying that he was nerfed, which, listen, I know TikTok is not exactly the home of the greatest philosophers of the modern age, but it still pisses me off how idiotic a lot of the people on TikTok are, and how a lot of the comments are just made by clearly either children or people who have brains of children. Listen, did Hulk get staggered by some gunshots from Frank? Yes. But at the same time, you gotta look at the context clues. When that happened, not only was that, I guess you could call him Smart Hulk, or a version of Smart Hulk, because you could tell he didn't tear through the clothes, he wasn't as big, he was still looking a little bit like Banner. He was being controlled by Jean Grey, okay? That wasn't Banner, that was Jean Grey, and it is kind of implied that whenever Jean is inside of a body, she can feel some of the things, and it does affect her in a way. And obviously, a teenager is not going to deal with bullets as well as, Hulk might. So it would make sense. It's not like the bullets hurt him either. It just kind of like tickled him and staggered him for a bit, which, makes sense. Again, Frank Castle's not going to bring a pea shooter. He probably has, armor piercing or whatever the fuck he would have. Not prepared for Hulk, obviously, but he would have big guns, as he always does, in preparation to help Spider-Man with that encounter. And then when, Jean loses control of Hulk and then actual Hulk comes out, I do not see a single second of nerfing. Not only was he huge, he was throwing Spider-Man around. Spider-Man could barely do anything to him. I love the effects of the webs pulling him down and it looking like it was tearing into his skin, but it never actually did. Like, as far as I could see, he never actually bled. The inhibitor couldn't break through his skin because it was so thick. The shockwave from the clap was amazing. The only thing I would complain about with Hulk was that we didn't get to see more of him, but it's understandable why we didn't. And the one complaint, the one actual complaint I have is that I didn't really understand why Hulk stood down. Like, yeah, Peter was like, oh, I'm Peter, I'm your friend. But realistically, why would Hulk know Spider-Man? If you really look at the timeline of the MCU movies, Hulk never met Spider-Man, like, ever. So there's not this, like, familiar understanding like in the comics, where there's this big moment that, like, after everybody forgot Peter, Hulk never forgot Peter. That doesn't really happen in the MCU because Hulk never met Peter. So or Spider-Man for that matter. So that familiar understanding wouldn't even be there in the first place. But at least when it comes to that, I guess you could argue maybe it was Banner, taking control. Maybe Banner is getting, after years of actually studying this, he has become better and was able to break through. And, by telling him he was Peter, I guess he kind of felt bad and Banner was able to help. I feel like it was not conveyed very well. I don't know why him looking at himself in like a glass shard would make him realize. I really don't know. Maybe it's just me being stupid, but that is the one complaint I had with Hulk, outside of, not getting more of him. I wish we got more explanation on why exactly he stopped there, but that's fine, because, again, it's like the best way they could have done. I would not have liked to see Peter beat Hulk. I feel like that would have been stupid. I think Hulk should not have been beaten in any sort of way, and that's not what happened. Hulk just gave up because, he didn't want to hurt people. As to why, I don't know. Again, could have been better explained. That leads me into another point. The cameos in this movie, there are quite a few. Obviously, I don't even know if you could count Frank as a cameo since he's so prevalent in the movie. But characters like Yelena, characters like, again, Hulk, the Hand to a certain extent, there weren't as many cameos. A lot of people were expecting to see Daredevil in this movie, me included. I'm not exactly glad that we didn't see him, but at the same time, I'm not mad about it. I'm glad we got a lot more focus on Spider-Man. Characters like Yelena, characters like Bruce Banner and Hulk were there to move the plot forward. Outside of Yelena basically doing nothing and just being like kind of an exposition dump and a few corny jokes, which I wasn't the biggest fan of. I did like the feet in the bathtub thing. I did like that, but outside of, Yelena not doing a whole lot and just being a joke machine, the fact that they didn't give her a lot of screen time, and when they did, it was actually to contribute something, I appreciate. Bruce Banner obviously helped Spider-Man, and God, dude, the fact that Spider-Man is the originator of the inhibitors, this is gonna be huge for, everything they decide to do with the mutants moving on from this movie, because Spider-Man is the creator of inhibitors, which, if you don't know, is a big thing in mutant stories all the time, the thing that can turn off their powers. And the fact that Hulk was also kind of the catalyst for that, or if you want to be specific with it, fucking Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man was the catalyst for him, because he was the one that created the inhibitor in his universe for Doc Ock, which in turn taught it to Spider-Man, to Tom Holland's Spider-Man in No Way Home, who in turn brought the idea to the Hulk, or I guess he already had the idea, but you get what I mean. It's cool to see this kind of chain of events happen and leading into the inhibitors being introduced in the MCU. Now, to talk about the main villain, I want to talk about Jean Grey. I did not think Jean Grey was the best she could have been. I liked her. I'm not gonna say I really liked her performance a lot, not because I have anything against Sadie Sink. I really like Sadie Sink, and I liked her performance in Stranger Things outside of Season 5. You can kind of tell she knew Season 5 was done for, because in Season 5 she almost felt kind of robotic, and everything she did kind of felt out of line. You could blame that on the directors or whoever the fuck on the Stranger Things team, but I can tell that Sadie Sink was kind of done with Stranger Things, and at the same time, you can see a lot of the mannerisms from Max in Jean Grey, which maybe it's just not from Max, maybe it's just how Sadie Sink acts. That could be a thing, and that kind of bothered me a little bit. It's a nitpick. It really is a nitpick. But outside of that, my biggest complaint with Jean Grey is that obviously, whenever you have Jean Grey in a story, she's gonna be kind of a wild card. You know, she has the Phoenix Force. A lot of the time, she loses control. Fucking Phoenix and UMVC 3 being the greatest example of this. And, you know, she fucks shit up. She is a very powerful character, and she is very unstable. So it is understandable that she would have evil moments or things where she does things wrong. But the way they introduced her in this movie just rubbed me the wrong way. I feel like she was too evil. She is looking for her sister in this movie, and that is, you know, a noble act. That is perfectly fine. That is a good reason to give her to push forward. But I do not like how in the pursuit of her sister, not only does she never extrapolate what she's actually after. Like, yeah, she's looking for VMAX, which obviously she doesn't know what it is during most of the movie. But at its core, she's not actually looking for VMAX. She's looking for her sister. And it struck me as weird that she would never tell Spider-Man about this. You know, as far as she knows, yeah, Spider-Man is helping damage control, but I feel like Spider-Man has been very outwardly, like, kind to her in every moment. He's never been mean. Like, I don't see why she wouldn't at some point be like, yo, you're helping damage control while I'm just looking for my sister, or something like that. And yet she waits for the last second of consciousness where she can speak to him to say Sarah, which obviously wouldn't mean shit to him, instead of just saying, like, I don't know, fucking sister, which, I mean, I guess she wasn't under control to say what she wanted in that moment. But again, you had so many options before while talking to Spider-Man. Like, dude, from the beginning of the movie to near the final act, she has so many chances to speak to him and just offhandedly mention, yo, I'm looking for my sister. I am not the bad guy here. Damage control is. And yet she never does, which just struck me as a bit of lazy writing just to push the conflict forward. And also her actions. Listen, I'm like 90% sure in this movie everything that Jean has is just grief. She has trauma and she has grief from losing her sister to, you know, the assholes at Damage Control, which is reasonable, okay? It's reasonable. So she doesn't have the Phoenix Force controlling her, therefore all of her actions are her own. So tell me, why the fuck did she kill an innocent old man? She literally took control of an old man who was doing nothing and then drove him into oncoming traffic. Not drove him, walked him into it. Now, is he dead? Maybe, maybe not. I don't think it was ever confirmed, but dude, either way, that is insane. That is so evil. There was no reason to do that, because it's not like Spider-Man could have saved them either way. He, like, I mean, maybe he could have, but at the same time, it was just so stupid. It wasn't even to slow him down. She just did it to Aura Farm. That is so crazy. And the biggest thing, what she did with MJ, dear God, that is so fucking evil. That is so evil. And for what? Like, you might argue, oh, it was to get the point across that she could, you know, take control of MJ at any time and, you know, she could hurt her. But she didn't have to do that. She really didn't have to. The only possible reasoning I can come up in my mind is that she's so fucked up mentally that, you know, what she says after that happens is, you know, some people would kill to hold their loved ones for the last time. I guess in her own way, she thought she was doing Peter a favor, I guess. But man, that is still so evil, and like, I just know a lot of people will not be able to come to terms with her being a good guy, and, you know, in future movies, Peter and Jean Grey being friends, because, dude, that is beyond fucked up. That is beyond fucked up. I cannot stress enough how fucked up that is. I don't know how Peter can forgive her. I know that's kind of a Spider-Man thing, you know, Spider-Man being, you know, very good to everybody, you know, just being happy despite everything, but dude, the balls you gotta have to forgive someone after doing that is crazy. It's crazy. So, aside from that, I thought Jean Grey was a good character. I like the fact that, you know, I like how she is defeated in the end. The way it's, you know, being reassured. The whole theme of the movie being, you know, about not being alone. despite being special and all that. It's not new. It's nothing new. It's been done to death a million times before. But I do like how it was executed. I do like how the flashback with Aunt May is so important, and it's also foreshadowed from the beginning of the movie. It's so nice to see. I love the montage at the beginning with a bunch of Spider-Man villains and him, just being Spider-Man. It's so nice to see his own arc he goes through, the way he basically goes through metamorphosis through trauma to basically accept the fact that he is Spider-Man. He is both of them, and he can also have friends even if they're not the same people, is so cool to see. The fact that he actually physically becomes stronger from it, he gets organic webs. I love the detail that, normal webs can get destroyed by damage control, but organic webs are just straight up stronger. That is such a cool detail to see. One last thing I was kind of confused by is the ending scene, like the last scene, which was when Peter went up to Ned and they did the handshake and he remembered it, and then he went like, Peter. I read that I read that in two possible ways. Either he literally remembers who Peter is from the handshake, which is kind of weird. I am not sure how that would work. Or second, he does the handshake and he's like, why would this man handshake me? Is he Spider-Man? Which, I don't know. I saw some people say that maybe when he was Spider-Man and he was in their apartment, they did the handshake, which I feel like they would have shown. They didn't do that, so that's clearly not the case. I also saw some people shitting on MJ for like, oh, she kissed him and she didn't remember him, and then Ned just does a handshake and he remembers him. I didn't take that way. If that is the case, if Ned literally remembered Peter just from a handshake, I feel like if he actually kissed MJ, she might remember him. Because you have to remember, when they kissed, it wasn't MJ, it was Jean. And it's been established, they were very clear with the fact that whenever somebody is taken control of, they do not remember, they are not there. It's like if they were asleep or something. So, if that is what they're trying to imply, my guess is that if for some reason at some point, MJ did actually, like, of her own volition, end up kissing Peter, she might remember him. And if that's what they're setting up, I don't know if I would like it, because I don't know why they would go through this whole, ordeal, this movie, to try to basically separate MJ from Peter and kind of take them apart, because that's, in my opinion, their whole arc in this movie is literally coming to terms that, MJ is not the MJ he knew. It's literally just not the same woman, so he can't be with her. Just to, like, maybe in the future bring that back, I see that as kind of wasting time in a way, and just kind of needlessly mentally torture Spider-Man, which, let's be honest, is not anything new for writers of Spider-Man to just mentally torture him without any possible reason, but it just still seems kind of odd to me. Outside of those few complaints and kind of nitpicks and weird things, this movie was amazing. Dear God, it was so good. I'm glad in the post-credit scenes we got the confirmation that Spider-Man was going to be in Avengers Doomsday. Though I feel like everybody knew that already. But still, it's nice to get the confirmation. And God, I cannot wait to see what they do with him. Honestly, it's so weird after being so negative about Marvel for so many years to just have this glimmer, this just inch of hope about the future and seeing what they can do. If they can put out movies like this, dear God, I cannot wait to see what they do. Please don't fuck this up. Please. This movie touched me in a way, dude, I can't even put it into words. Everything in this movie, it made me feel in ways I have not felt about Marvel in years. It was so great. This movie is a miracle. This movie is incredible. It's amazing. It's friendly. It's neighborhood. Whatever the fuck, however many adjectives you want to put into it. If you haven't watched it, please watch it. And dude, Marvel, please do not fuck this up. Please, I am begging you. You have struck gold. Please keep it going. And yeah, I'm sorry for the rant. I really just wanted to put this out because, God, this movie was so amazing. And yeah, if you watched, thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time. I know this video is a bit longer than I wanted it to be. I'm just fucking yapping for a while. But yeah. If you took the time to stop to watch, thank you so much. I love every single one of you. If you disagree with me, if you have something you want to add, leave it in the comments. I read every single comment. And yeah, have a great day, afternoon, morning, night, whatever. I love you. Bye.